Hello everybody, my name is the Zero Man and welcome to this edition of Countdown to Zero. Today we're doing 7 grand steps. Now, there's a few indicators right now of how I feel about this game. One of them being no hand-drawn intro. The next one being I sound really bummed out already going into this. Oh, why? Yeah, sure, let's do it. Okay. Let me explain how this game works. You see this nice little wheel thing right here? Yeah, get used to it. You're going to be seeing it the entire game. The game never changes. It's this wheel, and yes, the tiny little pictures change on it to represent technologies, but the wheel itself, it never changes. Those crocodiles, always the same. The characters, pretty much the same. They do change depending on what era you're in, but trust me, you're not going to get into the next eras. But let me show you. Got some nice little stats here. Oh, he can do irrigation. She can do brewing and masonry, but watch this. This is how you play the game. By getting tokens. Now, let me explain a few things right now. I've got to remember my format and try to do 3 good things first. Number 1. I do find when you get to the top tier, when you get to the top tier, the game completely changes and you're allowed to manage things. When I say manage things, I mean like for some random reason, you're allowed to completely control things you never were able to before. But there's some inherent problems with that, because the game doesn't really take any kind of pity on you in any way, shape, or form, and just likes to be a complete and utter jerk for no apparent reason. I'm gonna get blocked no matter what, so might as well. So, I do like the management aspects. I find them interesting. They can be anywhere from managing fields, managing armies, various different stuff like that. That's cool. It's an entirely different thing from how this game is played. What else is good about it? I can't come up with 3. But I have a headache. I really have a headache. I've put way too many hours into this game. This has been a long time coming. The downside to this game. Number 1. All you're ever going to see is this wheel and tiny little title cards. Number 2. You touch those alligators, you're dead. And here's the thing. If you can't get these magical little tokens, you're completely screwed. If people block you out by having enough people in front of you that you can't go past them to the next tile, and you happen to get to the gators, you're screwed. If you have no children and your characters die, you're screwed. Here's the thing. This game encourages having kids. There's actually a nice little thing. I wonder if I can actually show it. Will it actually work the way I think it does? Yeah. Impetus of love. An impetus of love gives you a chance to try for a child, which I don't know why the characters look completely different in that, but anyway, not the point. Impetus of love basically lets you jump ahead, but every time you do it, it's like, hey, you want to have a child, 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 want to have a child. The problem is, the game punishes you for having lots of children. You see this magic little slot that girl has? Yeah. Problem with that is, you can put tokens into children, because guess what? Children have crap stats. Now there's a problem with this. Tokens are fairly uncommon. And once you put them into a child, they're gone for good. Now, the thing is, tokens only up a child by about a third of a grade. So about an F to a D minus, or an F to a normal D. Can you see why I get angry? And can you see why it punishes you from having a large family? If you have 5 kids, well, nope, you're screwed. There's no way, number one, you could have 5 tokens a turn and still move without dying. And number two, it takes so many tokens over so many turns that it's ridiculous. But if you have one child, you're completely screwed in that, because the game will come along towards the end of your life cycle and like, hey, guess what? Your child randomly dies from random unknown reason that you had no control over whatsoever and just randomly happens. They just die. Because you know what? Screw you, that's why. So not only does it punish you for having tons of children, it punishes you for having no children. So, there is no happy medium here. And let me explain why. If you have, say, like 2 children, and you treat each child basically the same way, you both give them tokens every turn. The children, once you grow up and play one of the children, things actually kind of do get a little bit better for you. Just because, like, of course you did, but because, what am I saying? Because your sibling will actually try to help you and will give you tokens from time to time to time. Problem is, if you have a large family and you don't treat them all the same because you don't have the tokens to do so, the opposite happens. Instead of, oh yeah, they're going to help you, instead, they screw you for another generation because you actually will lose tokens as they come and break your stuff, or send guards after you, or just do random crap and you will lose tokens. So, once again, punishes you for a large family, but if you have a small family, it also punishes you because of random death and not as many bonuses from siblings. Where do I go on? Okay, there's 3 things you can do. There's 3 things you can do with this magic little bar at the side that these beads count as points for. Once you get so many beads and you get the points, something activates. There's 3 things. Number 1, you can advance in society. If you advance in society, you move your way up the wheel until you get to the very top, and at the very top, once you up yourself in society, you become the king. Once you become the king, the age immediately ends. I'll get to that in a second. Number 2, you can make an invention. An invention is probably the only decent thing in this game because it gives you about 10 tokens in that invention, and all of your children immediately become fluent in that invention. Like a B minus or so. Third one is Great Achievement. Now, Great Achievement is the exact same problem I have with the ending of an era. Great Achievement essentially can kill your character very, very easily. Because your character tries to do something big and impressive and important, and you get a choice. And most of the choices equal in either your death or complete failure of the mission. So all that time you spent gathering points and just spending time after time after time after time after time just trying to gather beads and stuff just to get that heroic thing. No, it doesn't matter because you get nothing. You'll get absolutely nothing from it because you chose one bad decision. Or, even worse, your character dies. I have never once got the ideal circumstance from like a heroic mission. Not once. I've got the medium. I've got the medium setting one time. Once. And all the other times I've either ended up dead or got next to nothing. And that's the same problem I have with the ending of an era. Now, the thing about the ending of an era, the ending of the era has the exact same type of thing. And the game kind of touts, oh, hey, if you do really well in the game, you'll get rewarded when it comes to the end of the era. No, you fool! You get absolutely nothing, because a natural disaster will happen to strike, and you'll have to make certain choices. Now, depending on where you are on the wheel, depends on what kind of choices you can make, but at the end of the day, you could end up going from the king of the entire country to a peasant in the next era and have to work your way back up. Now you may say, oh, that's interesting, that's so fun. Well, here's the thing. It's never clearly defined as to what could send you to that peasantry. Like, the very first one for this era is a flood. Now, it never once tells you. There's multiple different, like, branching paths. It gives you, like, 4 choices on where to go, and then depending on where you go, there's more choices after that, and then there's another set of choices after that, so you have no idea which way will lead you to the ideal circumstance where you could stay a king or stay rich, and instead you end up going to a peasant because your entire family almost drowns. It's retarded mechanic to set you all the way back and force you to grind your way back to the top of the wheel again. It's freaking retarded. Not to mention, the furthest I got in this game, my furthest saved completely glitched out to where I could not play the game anymore. I loaded in. My character was, guess what? Down here in the alligators. But they didn't die because it's not a board space. You only die when you touch the alligators, not when you're in the alligators. And since I was in the alligators, it wouldn't let me move forward, so the game would just error out and completely crash. So not only is the game boring, bland, and grindy as all can be, but it's buggy as well. It's buggy, and it's not even that complex of a game. And they couldn't even be bothered to get the title of the game right. The game is not technically 7 Grand Steps. It is 7 Grand Steps, but the full title is 7 Grand Steps, Step 1, What the Ancients Begat. Begats. Instead of an N. Instead of what the ancients began, somebody typoed and put what the ancients begat. I really don't like ripping on indie studios, but they need to be put into their place when they put out crappy games. So you want to know why I'm not making a nice little pretty loading texture? Well, that would be because it's so freaking god-awful a game, I don't think it's worth my time to actually put out any kind of decent quality. Oh yes, and children, because you know what? Screw me, that's why. Oh, here we go. Random event. What possibly could go wrong? Oh, Ket stole food when he thought it was safe. Ket was caught and executed. This is the exact kind of crap I was talking about. Randomly, out of nowhere, your character dies. Why? No reason. You have no control over it. It's just some kind of random bullcrap event that happens out of nowhere. This is the beginning of the game. This is the beginning of the game. My character just randomly dies. This is the entire problem I have with the game. I've got past into the next era once, and then my game completely bugged out. And I've lost that save forever, because apparently this game doesn't auto-save at any point, and when I reloaded my save back in, it was glitched out in the gators, like I said before, so I've put in somewhere around 30 hours, and Lord Almighty, I don't know why. I think it's because this game takes so long to play that... legitimately, it probably... it takes a very, very long time just to get through one age. It's ridiculous. I'm tired of raging. I really am. I'm tired of raging. 7 Grand Steps gets a 2 out of 10. What's a 2? It's an exceptionally poor game that fails on almost every front, except for the fact that number 1, it starts when I push the button. And number 2, it had some kind of idea of what it wanted to be. Just don't get this game. And please don't ever make me come back to it again. I really don't like reviewing bad games. Oh, I've been the Zero Man. You have all been fantastic.